Well, a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It is the 7th day of the 7th month of 2019. My dear friends, I'm George Grant saying welcome to today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. As usual, we got a full 3 hours with you this morning, keeping our pinkies crossed that everything goes smoothly. We're happy that you're with us, that you'll be, well, first of all, informed. That's the key objective. But we're also hoping that you're going to be entertained. It's going to be an interesting morning. We've been working hard all week to put together our main feature for this Sunday morning. And we do hope that you'll enjoy what you enjoy, and that you'll get to see a bit of Grenada, which many of you probably haven't seen, and the side of Grenada, which many of you haven't seen and probably wish you never did have to. But it's the reality. And when you stop and think about it, we still have so much to be thankful for, despite our challenges. Yeah? So, stay with us. And we look forward to hearing from you. Right now, we're live on Facebook. Just let me make sure that that is, in fact, the case. And not only on Facebook, but we're also there on Grenada Broadcast. Yes, we are there on Facebook. Yes, we are there on Grenada Broadcast. And for those of you who may not be able to make it through the full 3 hours, I invite you to return to either Facebook or the GRENADABROADCAST.com website just a few minutes after, depending on how the internet behaves, just a few minutes after this morning program ends. We will be up there on Facebook, and I would say within an hour after that, we will be up there on both Grenada Broadcast and the archive section. You can always go back and look at programs that were done weeks ago, right there. And we're also going to have it up on YouTube, okay? So essentially what I'm trying to say is that you really don't have any excuses for missing the program, especially this morning's program. I want to remind those of you too who watch online that it would be a good idea to subscribe. When you go to the YouTube site, you'll see a little button there that says subscribe. Bang! Click on that, and you will be sent a notification anytime we do a program here on Grenada Broadcast. Okay? It's archived. So please do that. Now, let's get down to breath. Oh, there they come. Dennis Perkins is first up this morning. He's saying, good morning, George and class. It's a lovely morning here in Carriacou, a bit dry. Need some rain? Well, you know, we were promised quite a bit of rain this week, but for whatever reason, that just didn't materialize. But I keep using this old proverb, which I learned when I was a kid growing up. What ain't meet you, ain't pass you. So if it hasn't come yet, Dennis, hang in there. The rain's coming. We haven't been seeing a lot of rain down here, but yes, it's been pretty overcast for the past week or so. And hot like hell, you know. I still regretted having to make a couple of trips into town this week to do errands. And every time I went, I was like, shoo, shoo, shoo. It's been awfully hot. So Is global warming actually happening? I don't know. Some say yay, some say nay. I am no expert. What I do know is that in my short little lifetime, 67 years, I've seen some changes in the weather. That's not to say there's this phenomenon called climate change. It's not to rebut that either, okay? I'm just saying that I have seen some changes. So yeah, Dennis is there this morning. Benedict Cador is saying sunny Sunday. Well, you know, Benedict, yes, it's kind of a sunny morning here. We do have a lot of clouds out there this morning. But essentially, yeah, we're seeing some sunshine there this morning. Manali to St. Green is saying good morning to you folks. Ella Mae Jackson, hello, Ella Mae, girl. Always so nice to see you. Jackie O, saying good morning all, the morning after the storms. What storms are you talking about, Jackie O? I'm assuming that she's up there in the United States and that they have had some inclement weather. Well, at least you survived, my friend. At least you survived. Arthur Langine, happy Sunday, Brother George. Your boy is here and listening and watching. Hey, Arthur, you're just too much. Good to see you. Anthea Rollo is saying good morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in Decatur, and that's in Georgia. John, hello there, John. Yeah, John is out there in Carriacou. John. John, you and Dennis are both Brits. Would be nice if you guys could hook up at some point, have a little tete-a-tete, and then one day perhaps all three of us can hook up. Wouldn't that be great? I'd love to sit with both of you guys. I've never met Dennis, by the way, but he's been a loyal follower of this program for years, and we do appreciate that. Okay, so who else is there? Let me see. Anthea. Hello, Pedro. Peter Bishop's there this morning. Peter, I'm going to try. I'm making a promise. I'm going to try and touch base with you this week. I'm a little bit sleepy, I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you why. Those of you who have been with us for the last week or so, you know that we've been trying to put together a program for this morning, a segment for this morning, about the destruction that we are causing to our environment. And several weeks ago, a couple of tour operators who just happen to be members of the Grenada Green Group, Mandoo Seals and Ian Blaikie, they took me down to Mount Hartman. You may remember we did a piece about the dumping that's taking place down at Mount Hartman. Well, they promised me on that day, because it was such a rainy day and we weren't able to really accomplish a lot, but we did get some video to show you. They promised me that they were going to take me around the island and show me what real dumping is all about. And they did. This week. I think it was on Tuesday. We left here at about 11:30 on Tuesday morning. Didn't return until 8 o'clock that night. We left here and drove down to the south of the island, then along the eastern main road. We stopped off at Bacalet, we stopped off at Soubise. We stopped off in Greenville, had some lunch. Then we went on to the Telescope area. Then we went on to Pearls. Then we went on to Bathway. And there's a little area right next to Bathway which is called Pysadee. I've heard that name ever since I was a kid, but never knew where the hell it was until this week. And that's not the only place these characters took me that I had not been before. So yeah, after we were through up at the Pysadee, we started coming down the East Coast and then hung a right and went through the center part of the island. We did not come down the West Coast, but they did promise me that eventually we're going to do a trip down the West Coast. Okay? So, the stuff that we saw was heart-wrenching, heart-wrenching. It shows just how little regard we've come to have for what we have. Anybody who's visited this island will tell you we have one of the most beautiful little rocks on the face of this earth. Actually, it's not one. There are several islands, despite the fact that you hear Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Truth is, we have a hell of a lot more islands than just 3. But I think it would be it would be ridiculous to try and mention all those names whenever you refer to the country. Anyhow, yeah, I stayed up last night, all night, editing stuff for this morning's program. So if you find the eyes a little bit droopy, you'll understand why. The boy needs some sleep. And that's what he's going to try and do when he gets through here this morning. Okay? So let me continue taking a look here. Hello, Margaret. Margaret saying good morning. Good to see you, girl. And Martin Carmichael Simon is watching from London, across the pond. Martin, if you have a minute, pick up the phone and say hi to Her Majesty for me, please. Okay. Lydia James is out there in beautiful Toronto. Girl, you're infringing on my territory. That's my favorite spot, Toronto. City has changed a lot over the years, hasn't it? Really, really changed over the years. I mean, I lived there from 1970 to 1986. So that's 16 years. And I remember very well, I never forget this. When I arrived in Toronto, the city's nickname was Toronto the Good. Toronto the Good. Sure, those of you who were there at that time might remember that. When I left in 1986 to come back here, the city was known as Hog Down. The city in those 16 years had undergone so many changes. It's a very, very metropolitan city. I think they're up to about 3 million people now. And boy, you've got people from just about every corner of the globe. I don't know if it's still the case, but I do know that when I was there, the Italian community was the largest Italian community outside of Italy, okay? You also had a lot of Orientals, a lot of Asians there. And I think the 3rd largest group at the time, I could be wrong, but I think the 3rd largest group were Caribbeanese, the people from the Caribbean, us, we, okay? But apart from that, you had a lot of other countries represented there. And eventually, it was a very quiet city, crime-free city. But over the years, crime crept in. And obviously, the immigrants were blamed for the increase in crime. I don't know whether that's true or not. I'm not going to argue. However, the city did undergo some changes. And yes, it's still a magnificent city, but things have changed a lot. One of the things I really admired about the city is that a city that big, it was amazing how many green spaces they had. A lot of green spaces. A park here, a park there, everywhere you turned, park. And Georgie Porgy spent a lot of time exploring those parks. Hello there, just let me hang on for a sec here. Yeah, Georgie spent a lot of time exploring those parks. I would imagine that has remained the same, but I'll tell you, it has become one heck of a concrete jungle. Like every other major city around the world, I would imagine. Just a lot of concrete and glass. You know, these buildings nowadays are all glassy. Anyhow, what the heck's happening to you this morning, George? It's 17 minutes after the hour and you haven't gotten into the rundown? Oh! Let's do that right now. First, let me take another. Oswin Lewis is saying good morning. It's a beautiful day, yeah, girl. Let me see if anybody else has popped up. Kipling, hello, Kipling, sending God's blessings as he does every day. And he's also asking you to share. Okay, go ahead, share. Tell everybody that the mob's on the air. All right, so let's get into today's rundown. At coming up on 18 minutes after the hour. Pilgrims, as always, we will begin this morning with this week's edition of The Buzz, in which I'll read you something from the Holy Scriptures. And I have to report this morning that Little Angel, who usually appears in the feedback section, is not going to be with us this morning. Little Angel just didn't have the time to do the research she wanted to do on something that she decided she was going to work on this morning. But Little Angel, we do hope that you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Then we get into the editorials. As always, two of them for you this morning. The first from the Grenada Advocate, which is captioned, Forging Ties. Forging ties, what's he talking about? You're going to have to wait just a wee bit to find out. And then, the new today, very, very topical matter. Their editorial on Friday was captioned, Lawlessness on the Road. I saw somewhere on Facebook that, I don't remember which day it was, Thursday or Friday, 4 road accidents. One day. And folks, you know, I was on a bus coming from GRENADA'S one day this week. We were overtaken by another bus, and I thought, my God, where the heck is he going to? You know, if it was an ambulance, I could have understood, but no. This was just a bus, overtaking, recklessly, speeding. Type of movement you would expect to see from a vehicle with a flashing light at the top, you know, an ambulance trying to get somebody to the hospital. No. Just a bus. Oh my God. I don't know what the answer is. But what I do know is that I'm anxious to hear an end to a lot of the rhetoric. Somebody wrote on Facebook this week that apparently we will soon realize the mistake that was made, supposedly, I say allegedly, supposedly, forcing Magistrate Jerry Seals out of office, and that's the way this thing was put. Jerry Seals handled a lot of traffic issues here in this place as a magistrate. And I don't know, I'm not going to get into details about what happened, but he and the profession parted company, if you will. And he had a reputation of being pretty harsh, especially on the bus drivers. And a lot of people, including fellow attorneys, claimed that he was too harsh and he was abusing his power and do. Well, I hope his replacement will be just as harsh and that we will see some change. I will be an eternal optimist and hope. I'm hoping that there will be some change for the better. All right. We then get to our interview section. And I only have one interview for you this morning. But boy, let me tell you, you folks know I like talking with the youngsters of this country. Oh man, yesterday I had one sitting here. His name was, or is, Wasim Pysadee. He's from Vincennes in St. David. This young man just got selected to attend the SPICE, that's S-P-I-S-E, classes in Barbados. You know, that, well, he's going to explain all that to you in the interview, but he's a young man who's going away to study mechanical engineering, 17 years old, and he's actually looking forward to going to university. Young, well-spoken, articulate, ambitious young man. It's people I like to meet. Yeah. One of those people who gives you hope for the future of this country. He came in here yesterday. I was expecting this guy at 1 o'clock. He was here at about 25 minutes after 12. Caught me totally off guard. The first question I asked him, I said, "You're not Grenadian." I mean, Grenadians don't usually show up on time or anything. Well, he did. And we had a lovely little chat, lasted for about 25 minutes or so. And we're going to run that by you this morning, right after we get through with the editorials. All right? Wasim Pysadee. I found out many of you know a very well-known Grenadian by the name of Harold Pysadee. And I also asked him, are you guys related? And apparently, yes, they are cousins. They are cousins. Harold used to be a broadcaster here. I think he's also done some broadcasting in the United States. He's based in New York. I'm sure many of you remember the Grenadian Connection. He used to be aired at one time every Saturday morning, and he did that. I know it's over 15 years, but I'm not sure exactly how far over 15 years he's been doing that program. I'm getting caught up. This program that you're looking to, we just began our 15th year. Can you imagine? We survived that long. Wow, okay. Now, our main feature this morning. Haven't done one quite like this before, but let me tell you. It is captioned, "The Beauty and Destruction of Grenada's Natural Environment." As I mentioned to you earlier on, my guests are, or will be, Ian Blaikie, who is a tour operator, but who's a member of the Grenada Green Group. That's an environmental group here in Grenada. And Mandoo Seals, who's also a member of that group, and he's also a tour operator. Well, these are the guys who took me around the island, well, half of the island this past Tuesday. And what we did was we captured a lot of video, okay? And we have broken that library, if you will, into 8 little sections. They run anywhere from a minute and a half to about 5.5 minutes in length. 8 sections. But we're not going to end there. Mandoo and Ian are going to be sitting there. See one of the chairs right behind me here? They're going to be sitting in here this morning. We're going to watch those videos, comment on them, and these guys are also going to be talking about their observations, and believe me, they have seen a lot. You wouldn't meet 2 persons who are more committed to preserving our environment than these 2 guys. They are really, really delightful people. And I admire the commitment they have made to preserving the environment. The thing is, they are operating in an environment, just like me, where you're very well intentioned to doing things to help other people, but one, you're working with very limited resources, very limited, and 2, they are faced with frustration after frustration after frustration, especially when it comes to dealing with the authorities. I say especially because the authorities are not the only difficult people to work with. We, the people. Let's take the case of garbage, for example. Okay? We're saying that the authorities, should enforce the legislation and stuff like that. We're also saying that there is a need for us to stop dumping. Why should people, and actually they've stopped. Mandoo and Ian and their green group, these guys used to go out and clean up the place. They stopped. Because the question is being asked, why should we have to go out and clean up, when carte blanche, you just go dump your stuff everywhere? I don't know what to say. Isn't it a lot easier to just, if I'm downtown and I buy a slab of chocolate, eat the chocolate downtown. 1, I look for a litter bin somewhere to dump the wrapper. Okay? Granted, there are not as many litter bins as there should be. So, what do? Throw it on the side of the... No, sir. It goes into my pocket, that wrapper, and comes home with me. And when I get home, it goes into the garbage. And boy, I'm so thankful for, what's the name of the group that does the cleanups here? Solid Waste Management. Do you know that every morning at about 7 o'clock, I mean, you can almost set your watch, 7 o'clock, they're outside there every morning, public holidays and all, cleaning up. And so I salute the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. Yeah, without you guys, place would be a mess. Anyhow, you're going to learn a lot about the mess that we're creating in pure Grenada. Hurts my heart every time I say those 2 words. Really hurts. Anyhow. Well, 9:30, and George is still rambling along here. But there are certain things I just had to get off my chest. Let me get back here to Facebook. Mikaman Alexander, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, Mikaman. Mickeman. Alexander is saying it's a great Sunday. Good morning. Ernesto says, Principal G, we really appreciate you for bringing Grenada to we in the diaspora and giving us the opportunity to be a part of it. Thank you. Ernesto, thank you. Thank you. It really is a joy. Even on a sleepyhead morning like this morning, yes, joy. Put on a shirt and some shorts. I'm not going to show you my legs, but yes, he's wearing shorts this morning. And come sit in this chair. It's a blessing. Great way to begin a week. Arthur Langine says, I wish this young man all the very best. Arthur, man, you haven't even heard him yet. I don't know if you know him, but you haven't heard the session we did yesterday. We had some fun during that session as well, so hang in there. It's coming your way in a minute. Hello there, Dennis Charles. Good morning to you, Mr. George. Hey, Dennis, man, drop the Mr. I don't say Mr. Dennis. No, I just say George. Hi. He says, please pass on to our listeners that we are going to do Dennis. I'm going to do this morning, but I know I'm going to get heat for it. That we're going to do a financial workshop in Brooklyn, New York, starting at 8 o'clock this evening. Dennis. That's not very nice. The event will be at the All Nations Club on Utica Avenue. We will discuss how to end poverty in our community and many other topics. Dennis. You know, I took a lot of flack for the last appearance because last appearance you did with us a little over a week ago because people were saying, geez, that's an infomercial. Anyway, moving right along, Ernesto Jose says, good morning, my Principal G and pilgrims. Welcome to Education Sunday. Education Sunday, a program with a difference. Please share the thing now, man. Denise James is saying good morning and blessings to all of us. Anthony, hello, Anthony. I think I saw Anthony taking a walk somewhere on Facebook this morning. I don't remember if it was a live you were doing or if it was a pre-recorded piece, but you were somewhere this morning with a whole bunch of bicycles riding past you. I began to think it was the Tour de France. No, it was in New York. He says he's thankful for this, a new day. Okay, so that's it for Facebook for the time. Let me take a little break here, and we'll come back with this week's edition of The Buzz.
For business owners, it's vital that they make efficient use of energy resources. So we're here today to show how GRENLEC supports their success. To energize our nation's businesses, GRENLEC works closely with them to ensure a positive impact on customer satisfaction, economic development, and the continued growth of our nation. It's all part of the commitment the GRENLEC team makes to business owners and residential customers every day.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
This summer, make your dreams a reality with a Co-op Bank Summer Sizzle Loan. Get up to $20,000 and qualify for a chance to win a staycation at Silver Sands. Go on a vacation, enjoy the carnival season, have your dream wedding, or make home improvements. Make this summer sizzle with everything you want it to be. Visit your nearest retail banking unit for more details. Special terms and conditions apply. Welcome home.
Conveniently located in the GRENADA'S Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granadas will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
There's a note here on Facebook from John Carriacou. John says, it seems here now that biodegradable items are now okay to dump. Really? John, what makes you think they understand the meaning of the word biodegradable? Degradable. Pilgrims, our time's now moved on to 23 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Let's get into this week's edition of The Buzz. And as always, we begin with a reading from the Holy Scriptures. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love that you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. We want each of you to show the same diligence to the very end, so that what you hope for may be fully realized. We do not want you to become lazy, but to imitate those who, through faith and patience, inherit what has been promised. When God made his promise to Abraham, since there was no one greater for him to swear by, he swore by himself, saying, I will surely bless you and give you many descendants. And so, after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. That reading, my dear friends, from the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verses 10 to 15. All right? And as I mentioned this morning, little Angel is not with us today. However, hopefully we'll see her next Sunday. Little Angel, get some rest, girl. I know you've been working overtime. We're going to take another break, and we're going to come back with first of our editorials, and this one from the Grenada Advocate.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone
enjoy free shipping on these orders in
water,
the USA,
non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENLEC at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434. Tell everybody.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chester Simon, and he's out there in Zurich, Switzerland, and also John Co-Alexander, who's out there in the Big Apple. Folks, let's now turn to Wednesday's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Their editorial was captioned, Forging Ties. South-South relations will bring big benefits. One of the things the European Union has sought to impress on the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states is that these countries should trade more with each other, which in a way means diversifying their economic relations. The suggestion has been taken up, although not to the extent which the EU would have wanted. So that when Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo visited Barbados recently, and the two countries made commitments to cooperate with each other, that represents, in a nutshell, what the EU has been promoting. The EU and the ACP countries have been tied in a series of economic relations since 1995, when the Lomé Trade Aid and Cooperation Agreement was signed. Under that arrangement, the EU brought sugar, rice, bananas, and other tropical fruits from the ACP, as well as providing them with financial assistance to establish projects. In calling, therefore, for more intra-ACP relations, it added another component to the agreement, something which analysts and international institutions have coined South-South relations. Countries in Asia, Latin America, Africa, and the Caribbean make up the South, and having them engaging with each other makes a lot of sense. They are rich in natural resources. They have huge markets which can accommodate tourism and imports from among them, expertise, and economic systems which rival those in the North, Europe, United States, Canada, and Japan. It was found that during the last global economic crisis, which began in 2008, Caribbean countries were affected badly, simply because their economic ties were with those in the North, where the recession started in the United States and extended to, hold on a sec. It was found that during the last global economic crisis, which began in 2008, Caribbean countries were badly affected, simply because their economic ties were with those in the North, where the recession started in the United States and extended to the other North Atlantic economies, such as Europe and Canada. The majority of tourists, for example, coming to the Caribbean originate in the UK, the USA, and, to some extent, Europe. That global crisis, however, did not have the same effect on Latin America and Africa, simply because their economic relations were not only with the North Atlantic, but were also with China, Asia, and the Pacific, which were not affected too much by the global crisis. The World Bank had subsequently called on the small Caribbean islands to diversify their economic relations to include other countries, rather than simply relying too much on the USA, Canada, and the UK. We have seen quite a lot of this, where, for example, Barbados has established air links with Brazil, and currently there is one with Panama, and the country is forging ties with Argentina. There were calls as well for Barbados to have more open dialogue with Africa. In setting the tone for more South-South relations, Barbados' Prime Minister, the Honorable Mia Mottley, told a news conference that this country would seek dialogue with Ghana to look at an air and maritime arrangement between the two countries. It would be recalled that during the 1980s, there was a Ghanaian airline operating flights in and out of Barbados, which was a clear sign of cooperation between the two countries. She spoke as well about opportunities for renewable energy, similar to what was spoken about some years ago with Nigeria. Investments, tourism, education, and the opening of an embassy in Ghana. The prospects do look good, and the opportunities presented by Ghana should not be wasted. Folks, that's the editorial, which appeared in Wednesday's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Good morning, Coylin Nash. Good morning, Nicholas Cox. Coylin is sending his blessings to all. Okay, folks, we have heard the editorial from the Advocate. Up next, the editorial from the New Today.
My name is Kizzy Marisha. I've been a confectionery maker 16 years now. Well, as a child growing up, my grandmom always make fudge and always make any candies, cakes, as I remember. And I always have an interest in that, you know? It's like when I'm in the kitchen, I'm very happy. If you're making coconut fudge, you just grate the coconut, you squeeze the milk, and then you strain it, and then you add your sugar, and then you put it to boil. And then after, when you reach a certain stage, you get thicker, so you got to beat it. Then after, when you beat it, you pour it out, and then wait for a few minutes to get hard, and then you slice it, you cut it, and then after you break it up, and then you package it. Yeah. Providing food fair is 16 years now. I remember when I just go drop it in the Fudge. I was a bit younger too, and I met Miss Harris. So I went in and I said, you know, I have a product here, some fudge. I was wondering if y'all would be interested to take some fudge or candies from me. I showed her, she said, you look very nice, you know? So she said, I'll try it. So she told me to bring back some another day. So that's when I started, but Miss Harris took it from me. And then they would start, so, you know. I had a good relationship with them. Of course, I felt special, you know, at least somebody taking my thing local and, you know, other people can see it, because if it's I just have it, not much people come. A lot of people comes in, they're foreigners. So it was kind of special, you know. And especially when I go in there, all the workers, it's very nice to me. If I pass and they say, Kizzy, you bringing anything this week for the thing finished? You know, they always look out for me. That's what I like. The atmosphere is nice in there. My name is Kizzy Marisha. I work with Food Fair to provide you with sweet treats.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandans and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Good morning, Mr. Henry Steele. Good morning, good morning, good morning, folks. We got Margaret awakened. Margaret has posted a comment here, and she's referring to the previous editorial from the Grenada Advocate. Margaret says, "Some things truly make me smile and shake my damn head at the same time." So, the EU says that we should engage in South-South trade, and as a result, it's a good idea. Those are many of us who know that that was an idea proposed by the developing South donkey years ago, but nobody paid any attention, any mind, because Massa didn't approve. The brainwashing is deep. You know, she thinks before she speaks. And yeah, thank you, Margaret. Okay, pilgrims, it's now just a little under 8 minutes away from the hour. Let's turn to our second and final editorial on this Sunday morning, 7th of the 7th of the 19th. The new today is captioned, "Lawlessness on the Road." It is long past time for the authorities, including the Royal Grenada Police Force, to start thinking outside of the box in coming up with alternative solutions to combat the growing lawlessness on our road network. This is the era of science and technology, and our own Prime Minister, who has responsibility for national security matters, including the police, is the lead minister in the region for science and technology. The New Today is convinced that it will take more than the hiring of traffic wardens to deal with the growing lawlessness on our roads, with the chief culprits being the bus drivers. It is common practice for bus drivers to use their cell phones to tip off each other on where the traffic wardens are currently located. The GRENADA'S route is the busiest in the country, and the bus drivers are having a field day in violating the traffic regulations. This paper is convinced that the traffic department is fully aware of those areas along the route where the bus drivers are a serious menace and nuisance to other road users, especially around the Carnage and the Otway gas station in the Paddock Lagoon Road area. The bus drivers will wait for the traffic police or traffic warden to move away from these spots and then immediately engage in their illegal activities. It is time for the traffic department to utilize science and technology with the use of our internet providers to put in place a system including the use of cameras in these troubled spots and monitor them from their base on a 24-hour basis. The motorists, especially bus drivers, who are caught on camera violating the traffic laws must be subjected to a reasonable fine, like $200. And if they challenge the fine and want to contest it in court, the fine should be increased to $1,000. The law should also make provisions for failure to pay the fine within a short period of time, to result in a driver losing his or her license initially for a period of 6 months or thereabouts. The one magistrate who was able to keep a tight rein on the lawless bus drivers has been forced out of the magistracy. The bus drivers have now seized the opportunity to continue with their recklessness and, in some cases, have gotten worse in their use of the nation's road network. There is also a very dangerous trend of vehicle owners, especially in the south of the island, utilizing all the limited sidewalk space provided for pedestrians to engage in safe walking. All kinds of vehicles can be seen parked on the sidewalk pavement and forcing pedestrians to walk on the road and to expose themselves to speeding vehicles at all times of the day. The police pass these routes every day and are fully aware of this illegal practice, but are not doing anything about it. This illegal practice will stop overnight if the police send in a squad to clamp those vehicles caught breaking the law. When the road network was improved in the Belmont-Grandans route years ago, the state was forced to acquire lands to put in parking spaces for bus drivers to stop off or drop off and pick up passengers. But today, many bus drivers are not utilizing the zone set aside for them, and the police aren't enforcing it. The New Today also wishes to point to the nightmare that is taking place in the Grandans Valley area, with all kinds of vehicles, including abandoned ones, parked on the sides of the road and hampering the free flow of traffic. This valley has turned out to be an extremely very busy thoroughfare for motorists who are trying to get into the south and want to avoid the frequent traffic pileup along the Belmont-Grandans route. This paper is not sure that the vast majority of officers now in the force are aware that the Grandans Valley Road was upgraded by the 1979-1983 People's Revolutionary Government as an emergency road in case of a major accident at the airport. The intention of the PRG was to have the road free from any traffic congestion to service the needs of our international airport. But in recent times, all kinds of illegal parking is taking place along the roadway and preventing the free flow of traffic. The police have put in a no parking sign in a particular area in the valley, and this is being violated openly by many vehicle drivers. It is sad that the police are not even monitoring the area to clamp those vehicles that can be found parked in the no parking zone at any given time. Grenada might be left in a very embarrassing situation if there's a major mishap at the airport and persons have to be rushed to the St. George's General Hospital, whether utilizing the Grandans Valley route or the Grandans Belmont thoroughfare. That's the editorial which appeared in Friday's edition of The New Today. I just want to add a footnote to that. I understand fully well what the paper is saying. Something that has always bothered me, I can't remember the year, but I'll tell you, years ago, the government of Grenada decided, look, because of the narrow roads we have here, they're going to spend some money and create bus stops, okay? A lot of these bus stops have a little area where you can pull off the main road onto the side, drop or pick up your passengers without screwing up the traffic behind you, okay? I don't know when last you rode on a bus. I do all the time. Folks, how often do you see these bus drivers pull into that little area which was specifically created for them. No. Assuming that they pull off the road to any extent, they will park right on the middle of the line. So half of the bus is still in the main road, and half of the bus is in that parking area. Who are these people who get licenses to drive buses? Can they think? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Let me see here. Okay, just... Ernesto says, after listening 3 nights of Soca Semi, I am very disappointed with what I've heard so far. Where's the standard we're setting? After naming 5 of our artists ambassadors from representing Grenada in TNT. Let's remember, the eyes of the world are on us. We have to do better, artists. Ernesto, did you seriously believe these designations as ambassadors would make a difference? Did you really? You disappoint me, fella. Ryan says, good day, Gigi and class. Challenges plus. Lost INET last night in last night tropical thunder and lightning rainstorms. Still down. Connections with my iPhone Plus as a hotspot. Oh, so you had some weather in Florida, in Orlando, eh, Ryan? I wonder if that's what somebody else was referring to earlier on this morning. Nick Cox is responding to something Margaret said a little while ago. He says, but Margaret, you should provide more details for those of us who do not have the historical information on this topic. What Margaret was talking about here, she said, some things truly make me smile and shake my damn head at the same time. So the EU, that's the European Union, says that we should engage in South-South trade, and as a result, it's a good idea. There are many of us who know that that was an idea proposed by the developing South donkey years ago, but nobody paid any mind because Massa didn't approve. The brainwashing is deep. That's what Margaret says, and that's what Nick was responding to. Ryan is happy that he's getting some rain for his gardens. John says, reference the Valley Road traffic. Bring back Judge Jerry Seals. That, John, and a snowball in hell are 2 things you're not likely to see happen. Okay. All right, folks. That's going to take care of our editorial content and a little visit there to the folks on Facebook. Take a break, and then we'll come back with Mr. Wasim Pysadee. Oh boy, you guys are going to love this young kid. 17 years old, articulate, ambitious. Hang in there.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granadas will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
This summer, make your dreams a reality with a Co-op Bank Summer Sizzle loan. Get up to $20,000 and qualify for a chance to win a staycation at Silver Sands. Go on a vacation. Enjoy the carnival season. Have your dream wedding or make home improvements. Make this summer sizzle with everything you want it to be. Visit your nearest retail banking unit for more details. Special terms and conditions apply.
For business owners, it's vital that they make efficient use of energy resources. So we're here today to show how GRENLEC supports their success. To energize our nation's businesses, GRENLEC works closely with them to ensure a positive impact on customer satisfaction, economic development, and the continued growth of our nation. It's all part of the commitment the GRENLEC team makes to business owners and residential customers every day.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
All right, folks. Good morning, Mandoo. Mandoo, I imagine that you're on your way here, watching us on your cell phone, eh? And Anthony's also there. I think he's in New Jersey. Folks, you know, there really isn't a heck of a lot to say that isn't going to be said in the segment that you're about to watch. Yesterday afternoon, I sat here for 25 minutes and had this conversation with this young man. Wish him well. If there's anything you can do along the way to encourage and support him, please do. His name is Wasim Pysadee, and he is about to embark in studies pertaining to mechanical engineering. Check this out. Folks, those of you who've been watching this program for an awfully long time know that I really enjoy talking with our youth. Over the years, there have been many, sometimes in groups, sometimes individually. They come in here to chat. And I heard about this next gentleman just a couple of weeks ago from a friend of ours, a gentleman by the name of Earl Brathwaite, who runs an organization called the PETNA Foundation. They're philanthropic, and they have been a great assistance as far as helping a lot of youngsters here to achieve a good education. And today I want you to meet one such individual. This gentleman you're looking at, his name is Wasim Pysadee, and he hails from the village of Vincennes, I think it is.
Yeah, Vincennes.
Vincennes in St. David. And Wasim has just won a scholarship for the Spice Class 2019. Wasim, first of all, welcome. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
And same to you. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, man. I want you to start by telling me about SPICE. What is SPICE? And that's not S-P-I-C-E. It's S-P-I-S-E, right?
Yeah.
What is SPICE?
Well, SPICE itself is like a youth-oriented program that is geared towards fostering some sort of interest in engineering, science, math, and that kind of career path. And it takes persons of such interest and helps to sort of invest in such, and as well as to sort of encourage others as well to get into that field of science and so on.
So it's an educational thing.
Yeah, so it's like 4 weeks of intense university type work in terms of math, biochemistry, physics, and so on. So it's basically training you for the world of university to come, as well as just giving you a brief overview of the things that you would meet up in the engineering world and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you currently attend TAMCC?
Yes.
How long have you been going there?
Well, for 1 year, so I'm moving on to the second year of TAMCC now.
Okay. Have you, I'm curious about this, mechanical engineering. Listen, for a little naive old man like myself, I want you to explain to me your perception of mechanical engineering. What is it that attracted you to this thing?
Well, mechanical engineering itself is like a very broad field. It's something like doctoring, where in the medical field you have various different parts of ways in which you can specialize. So, likewise, mechanical engineering, you have, let's say, process analysis, where you would use your education and skills in mechanical components and machinery and so on to build, let's say, factories or assembly lines and so on. Or you have the part where you would deal with automotive design and so on, some of structure, boats, some parts of bridges in terms of the whole structural part and so forth. But all in all, I was drawn to mechanical engineering from a very young age, because as long as I can remember, I've always been tinkering with different appliances at home, probably dismantling it, putting back together.
Don't tell me you mash up your mother and father freezer and their washing machine and their fridge, huh?
Oh,
did you juke up those things?
Attempted to, yeah.
Attempted. At least you're honest. So yeah, that's where this thing will get started. What did you used to do? Tell me specifically what you tampered with at home.
Well, I used to go behind the clocks, television, radio, anything of that sort. Sometimes, let's say a flashlight or something like that. Or even like when my grandfather was still alive, he used to like hold different parts that he would scrap from something. So I would go over by him, take different parts, screws, bolts and whatnot, and try to put something together. Because I remember once, by using some of the parts that I got from him, some parts I got home, I built a cart itself. I said,
you built what?
A cart.
A cart?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, like, drive down Alta Hill with it. My cousin and I, yeah.
You built a cart from parts
you
got at home?
Yeah, parts. So it was like, I think it was a plastic drum. Like, cut it in half.
You spared nothing your wrath, did you? As a kid, I used to make carts too, but we made carts from, little pieces of bamboo, and we would cut trees, the trunks of trees to make the wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And boy, did I have a lot of bruises on my knees from going down the hill on that.
Right.
But my brother was worse than me. Yeah. Okay, so that's where the mechanical stuff comes in. Now, I would imagine that since you decided to pursue mechanical engineering and found out that you're one of the people selected by SPICE, you have sort of started to envision, boy, when I get through with this and assuming I make it to university and all this, these are some of the things I'd like to do with my newfound skills. Talk to me. Tell me.
All right. Well, having graduated from university with a degree in mechanical engineering, I would hope to specialize in automotive engineering, because I'm also into vehicles and vehicle designs. So by using such degree, I hope to one day open my own car company as well. Yeah, that would specialize in making electric vehicles. So it would be similar to something like, let's say, Tesla, Rivian, and so forth. Like those huge companies abroad producing electric vehicles for the masses, it would be similar to that as well. But it would have the appeal to both the general public as well as for persons who are looking for a kind of sporty feel in a vehicle. So you would have things similar to what you would find in a track-focused vehicle, but you could drive it on the road every day. Yeah.
Have you been paying a lot of attention to the developments in the result of the development in technology in new cars? I can't remember what brand it was, but just this week I was looking at a sports car that's been developed by one of the major sports car manufacturers. You get into the car, there's no steering wheel. You punch a button, and the steering wheel, I should call it a steering column, comes towards you from the dashboard, because it's not a round steering wheel like, you know, the old cars you and I drive here nowadays.
Yeah.
To open the car to get into the...
A sensor?
It's a sensor. There's a little area on the side of the car where you just touch and the door swings open.
I think I saw that. That was a BMW vision concept, something like that.
Maybe that was it making around the rounds on social media this week?
Yeah, I think so. It was a sort of goldish.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, BMW something. Yeah.
You'd like to make one of those?
Yes, but not as what should I say? Like that concept itself was a bit over the top, I would say, because it's like kind of impractical for daily use. Because although we're looking to go toward the future in terms of autonomous driving and so on, most persons still want to have control over their vehicle. So by having that steering...
This one drives itself, young man.
Yeah, I know, but still it's like some persons, they still want to have that experience itself with the whole steering column and all of that. Yeah.
So you're not going to go that far?
Well, I cannot tell, because future developments and so on will actually drive the design of vehicles to come. So, yeah.
Was anybody else in your family mechanically inclined, or are you just a one-off kind of thing? Huh?
I won't say mechanically inclined, but like a lot of my family members is either their skill in terms of art, because most of my cousins and so on, they could actually draw or paint. Like my sister, some of my cousins, they're artistically inclined, and as well as my grandfather, uncles, and so on, they do a lot of technical work in terms of carpentry and so on. So I won't say mechanically based, but in terms of the technical skills and so on, that's a part of my family.
Okay, so all right, I understand where you're coming from. Now, where are you going to be doing these studies? Is this going to be done right here in Grenada, or you're going to be traveling?
Well, to get such a degree in mechanical engineering, I would have to
go somewhere.
Yeah, travel to some
but
other university.
Spice class?
Oh no, Spice program would be in Barbados.
In Barbados?
Yeah.
And you're going to be there for 4 weeks?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Okay. And your ambition is to go to university, eh?
Yeah.
Have you started thinking of universities you might want to attend?
I was thinking MIT or McMaster's or some other university which has a great reputation in terms of mechanical engineering and so on.
Okay. You know, I don't know much about MIT, but as a Canadian myself, I can tell you, boy, McMaster's, they have a reputation. And I think that's probably the reason why the PETNA Foundation is involved with McMaster. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Brathwaite, who heads up the PETNA Foundation, graduate of McMaster. So he's always about McMaster, and with good cause. All right, now let's shift gears. How old are you?
17 now, but turning 18 in a few days.
In a few days?
Yeah.
Well, let me reach out with premature happy birthday greetings, man.
Thanks very much.
Okay, 18. Pretty soon you'll have a beard and mustache and all that stuff. Wasim, as a young man growing up in this environment, you stand out because you had, excuse me, I'm getting choked up talking about this. You're somebody with ambition, and you must have had challenges along the way. I want you to talk a bit about those challenges. What did you find tough growing up in this environment that you're growing up in?
What I find most challenging would be the mindset of others itself, because most Grenadians themselves, or I shouldn't just single out Grenadians, but persons on a whole, general public, are not as, let's say, goal driven or ambitious in terms of what they want to do. Because most persons, let's say after they leave secondary school, they would just settle to get a job or so on and work their way up and work their way up the ladder that way. Or some may not even bother to attend college or so on. But yeah, that kind of atmosphere or environment was kind of, well, is, I should say, kind of challenging in itself to sort of push yourself to actually go to such a level.
And that was tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you sometimes, get frustrated and say, geez, boy, should I really bother?
Right, yeah, because it's like everyone is of the same mindset, okay? Although you're so ambitious, the odds of you actually achieving such goals is like so slim, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of...
But fortunately, you're one of those persistent ones who decided, hey, I'm going to overcome that too.
Yeah.
And move on. Yeah. Good for you. In a little while, just before we wrap up the program, I'm going to ask you to look into that camera and speak to other youngsters like yourself out there who probably feel the same way you did, reaching points of frustration and asking whether it's worth, going on and on. I want you to speak to them and provide some encouragement. But getting back to Spice and PETNA, what do you know about PETNA, and what was the process? You're a student at TAMCC.
All right.
How did you manage to wind up being selected by Spice?
Well, it kind of all started with a day in class, I would say. And then a past student of Spice asked me if I knew about the program, and I said, well, no. So then he directed me towards the Spice page, and I read up on it and so on. Then he decided it was a very good program itself to enroll in, because it would really sort of boost you in terms of your level of knowledge and experience for university level. So I applied online for Spice 2019, and then they accepted me to the program, and after that they let me know that PETNA was my sponsor itself. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I found out about the PETNA Foundation, in a sense.
So was the screening tough?
The process was long, but I won't say the screening was extremely difficult, but the process in applying is quite long, because you have a few essays to write, you have some forms to fill out, and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit tedious, I would say, but in the end, it's all worth it.
But not even that frustrated you, did it?
No.
Nah. Boy, you got a long way to go. You're going to have a great future ahead of you. So, hence the reason you've been a student up to this point, but I'm going to ask you to play Teacher Waz now. Teacher Waz, take a look, my friend, into that camera. There are youngsters looking at you out there and saying, oh boy, he got a break. I want one too. But they don't have the guts to pursue it. Talk to them. Take as much time as you want and speak to these youngsters like you'd be talking to your friends on the block.
Well, to achieve anything, I would say you need persistence and discipline, because you can actually start up with some great plan, some great ambition, and a great drive initially, but then without that persistent nature and discipline to say, okay, I'm going to focus on just this, complete this task in a certain time frame, and so on, then you wouldn't get it done, or your drive itself would just slowly diminish. But by having such strong focus itself on what you're doing, you actually would be able to somewhat achieve what you set out to. And more or less, that kind of hard work ethic itself would pay off, because everyone's saying they would work hard to do this and work hard to do that, but the truth is, everyone has their own definition of hard work. But hard work is where you basically work until you can't go anymore. It's like you're almost falling down, I would say. Yeah, I know it's like you're up late nights, getting up early in the morning, almost tired. Yeah, that's true hard work. Not exactly subjective in that matter, but it's more to the point of extreme exhaustion. Yeah, that's hard work.
And would you agree with me that there is a difference between working hard and working smart?
Yeah, there's a difference between that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So working hard without being smart is working without a plan. It's like
wasting time.
Yeah, just wasting time. And as I would say, spinning top in mud.
Spinning, hey, yes sir.
Yeah, so it's just basically doing a lot of things which doesn't move you forward itself. So it's just finding all sort of odd things to do, thinking you're moving forward, but you're not. But when you're working smart and working hard at the same time, it's like you're using different strategies itself to move yourself forward with a plan as well. So you know exactly what you're doing and how you would attain that itself, instead of just burning out yourself doing things that don't worth it itself.
And would you agree it's very important to have a goal?
Yeah.
Once you have a goal, you also need to set out the strategy. But let's talk first about the importance of having a goal. I mean, you want to accomplish, yes, you want to accomplish. Accomplish what?
Yeah. Well, goals themselves come with like supplementary goals, I would say. So it's like you would have your long-term goal, in which that's like the bigger picture, what you really want to achieve. But in order to achieve that, you need to also have smaller goals in between themselves. Once you achieve this one, you can step up to the next one, until you finally reach your ultimate goal, in which what you want to achieve. Yeah. So, and then also goals themselves, like you need to have a reason behind what you're doing. Because if you don't have a reason behind what you're doing, it's like at a point in time when you're really, really tested, it's like you would just say it doesn't make sense. Because if you really have a true reason behind why you're doing something, it's like, although it may be difficult, you would say, okay, I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z, and because of that, I really want to achieve this goal. Yeah.
And without a goal, you'll never know whether you reached it or not.
All right, yes, true.
One of the good things about the climate, the environment in which you and I live nowadays, is that there's a lot of help out there. To attain a goal, you really need to do some research, okay? And okay, gone are the days when you used to just have to sit with piles and piles of books to do research. Nowadays, you go to this thing you call YouTube?
And Google.
And Google, thank you. And you learn so much there, my friend. Did you spend a lot of time doing homework on Google and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for any student, no, Google and YouTube is probably your best friend in terms of doing work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much free, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still wondering how many people are using that. YouTube has opened up my eyes to a lot, and you know, the sad thing about Google, I went to a doctor a few weeks ago, and he said to me, where did you get that information from? The information was that one of the medications that I am on for diabetes, I thought it was a good medication. I've been using it for years, but I've been receiving a lot of emails saying, that's terrible, don't use that, don't you dare use it. And I mentioned that to my doctor, and you know what he said to me? He said, George, where did you get that? Dr. Google? Because, you know, there's a lot of misleading stuff out there on the internet. So you need to be careful. But somehow I think some of it is so obviously deceiving, deceitful, that you can spot them. Yeah. Well, my friend, let me tell you, boy, I'm looking forward to after your 4 weeks, you can come back and sit down here and say, hey, George, man, yeah, I'm glad I got that, and I'm going full steam ahead to get into a university.
Yep.
And you say it's MIT or McMaster's?
Yes.
Well, there are others out there.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty darn sure if Mr. Brathwaite and the PETNA Foundation are around, they would certainly love to see you up at McMaster because they feel very good about that institution. And I would really like to see things pan out for you. Parting word before you go. Mom and Dad, were they very encouraging in the line you decided to pursue?
Yes. Like initially, they weren't exactly along the engineering path, but by seeing my interest in those things, they kind of encouraged me in it because of my passion for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they didn't say, my son has to be a doctor, my son has to be a lawyer.
No.
Yeah. A lot of parents do that, eh?
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's bad, but I think that kids ought to be encouraged to pursue what their hearts desire.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to TAMCC and the people at SPICE and PETNA?
Well, I would just like to say a big thank you to everyone from those organizations, which has really helped me to actually achieve a scholarship to go to SPICE in a big way. And I would like to thank my sponsors, PETNA Foundation, as well as SPICE for actually accepting me, and as well as TAMCC for the different lecturers and so on who wrote the letters of recommendation for me to actually attend SPICE, yeah.
And one of the first questions I asked you when you came in here was whether or not you're related to Harold Pysadee, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if Harold is watching right now. You said Harold's your cousin?
Yes, he is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And he chose to follow or to pursue broadcasting. Hey, Harold. Mechanical engineering, man. Hey, listen, congratulations. Best of luck. Just listening to you, I can tell that you're not just the average kid on the street. You got a lot going for you. Got a bright future ahead of you, young man.
Thanks very much.
Make us all proud.
I will.
This has been Wasim Pysadee. The man has just been accepted in the SPICE 2019 program, and that is sponsored by the PETNA Foundation, and he's going to be pursuing mechanical engineering. Let's all wish him the very best. Thanks a lot. Take care. You have it. There you have it, pilgrims. I did tell you, didn't I? I mean, what I liked you. This kid is so articulate and so ambitious. He's going to do very well. Please join me in wishing him the very best. And you heard, he promised that once he's gotten through with his studies, he's going to come back. I think the course he's going to be doing in Barbados is only about 4 weeks long. But after that, his ambition is to move on to university. Way to go, kiddo. Way to go. All right. Folks, before I get to my in-house guest this morning, and I'm just saddled up and pumped up and ready to go with this. I first want to welcome Judy Benoit. I see she's joining us on Facebook this morning. And I also want to digress a little bit to some comments that were made about what we were talking about earlier on. Ernesto says, I think the traffic department needs to have tow trucks assigned with them to tow vehicles in violation of traffic rules. Alana Logie says, Grenada has become a lawless society. We have a lot of laws on the books, but they are openly violated in reality, and no one does anything about it. Take, for instance, the cell phone or the seatbelt laws. A lot of the times, these laws are broken in front of the police. I can attest to that, Alana. And on other occasions, by the police themselves. Huh? Yes, Alana, I understand where you're coming from. And Ryan out there in Orlando, Florida, agrees with you. Anthony Howard is saying good morning to his family. Anthony Parks is also saying good morning. And Tessa Barry says, good morning, everyone. George, you look bright and cherry this morning, more than usual. What's in the coffee? Wouldn't you like to know what's in the coffee, girl? Actually, there's nothing in the coffee this morning. I'm sleepy, but I'm happy this morning. I'm alive, aren't I? And I'm sitting with you guys, aren't I? Yeah, man. No reason not to be happy this morning. Ryan Jaban says, Grenada's drivers are manic about overtaking. Dangerous. Yeah, Ryan, we all understand that. John says, true. And then take them to the police pound and fine them for their traffic violations, storage, and release. You tell them, John. Amnesia Charles is also joining us, Ronnie Gittins and Patricia Wilson. And Claude PETNA says, Mr. Grant and class, sorry for being late. I was in the garden. Let me see your fingernails. Prove that you were in the garden this morning, Mr. PETNA. Now this, I'm not sure this is a real name or a fake name. Pecolina, Pequolina, Pecolina, it might be real. And her surname, or his surname, is B-double-E. Wow, what a buzz. Dolores Hazard is also joining us. And about the interview you just saw, John says, this young man is a grounded man with a sense of purpose and ambition. It's good to see. That's what I meant, John. This kid has a heck of a future ahead of him. Wendy Aline is also with us. Simeon McVeigh, Bernard Gilbert, all with us. And Nixon Mitchell, commenting on that youngster, says, good education lessons. Ernesto says, I hope the Minister of Youth and Development is listening so they can see the talents of such a great mind. Well, moving right along. Anthony Park says, very impressive interview. Yeah, I enjoyed talking with that kid. Can't wait to talk with him again. And Margaret says, much success to this young man. See what I mean? You know, there are a lot like him around the place, but they're low-key, they're quiet. You don't see them on the block, or, nah, you don't see that. Mervyn Lord, hello there, Mr. Lord. And Chester Simon says, lots of echo on your mic. I'm not hearing any echo. Are you guys hearing an echo? I'm not. Anyway, folks, now, I also just heard, you know, last night I was supposed to attend the Legends and Concert show down at the Trade Center. You know that I've been to the last two. I think this was, what, the 16th one? I'm not sure. I missed the first batch. I only saw the last two, and I was just dying to get down there last night. But because I had to prepare for the segment that's coming up right now, I was not able to. Well, one of my friends who's sitting right here, Mandoo, he went, said it was a great show, but there was a problem. Too many people. I wasn't surprised to hear that because that crowd has just been building. A few weeks ago, I was speaking to the organizer, Godfrey Augustin, and he said to me, you know, in all the shows they've done, there was only one where they actually had a disappointing turnout. I don't remember the reason, but he gave me the reason why he thought the turnout was disappointing. But all the shows have been so well attended. And Mandoo is telling me here now this morning that, standing room only last night. People all over the place. Okay, so having said all of that, let me take another little break here. And we're going to come back and say good morning. Well, first of all, let me give you a glimpse of these two guys. Take a look at them. Don't they look pure? All dressed in white this morning. Don't they look pure? On the left is Mr. Ian Blaikie, and on the right, Mr. Mandoo sales. So let's take a break. We'll come on back.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA'S at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit GRENADA'S.com.
GRENADA'S, energizing our Grenada.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks. Yeah, they're ready. They're ready. All saddled up, ready to go. Let's say good morning to Mr. Ian Blaikie on the left and Mr. Mandoo Sales on the right. Gentlemen, even before I let you take off, I want to say thank you so much for taking me on that tour around the island a couple of days ago. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I appreciated it, and I'm sure that to a large extent our audience is going to appreciate it this morning. I think many of them will be disappointed by what they're about to see, but hopefully this will stimulate people into just being a little bit more serious about caring for our environment. You represent the Grenada Green Group. What on earth is the Grenada Green Group? As if I didn't know. Who's going to tell me that?
First, as you mentioned, take you on a tour. It's not the type of tour we'd love to take you on, but it was an embarrassing tour. Not the tour you'll take somebody, enjoyable tour, and you'll see for yourself the audience.
That's why I said I think some of the people are going to be disappointed in what they're about to see this morning. But so be it, my friends, so be it. That's what I'm not resigning myself, but somehow I think that's what we've come to in this place these days. Okay, so Ian, why don't you tell us a bit about the Green Group?
Well, it came into being when Mandoo, who is technically a rival, stomped into our office, I being Sensation Tours, or working for Sensation Tours, and glared at me and said, what are we going to do about litter, with the emphasis on the we. And what we did is form a little group called the Grenada Green Group, with the narrow focus of trying to change the mindset that causes people to drop litter. We're not an organisation that picks up litter. Many other people do that, and as soon as they've picked it up, it's back. We did that ourselves in the early days up at Seamoon, where one Saturday morning we picked up, goodness knows, 27 bags of litter, I think it was. Big bags, full bags. And then on Monday, Mandoo and I independently drove through Seamoon with our batches of tourists. He takes English, I take Germans. And the litter was back. It's as if we'd never been there. And so we no longer pick up. What we're trying to do is, by education and legislation, stop people dropping litter. We are now a group with a sort of core committee of, I think, about 8 or 9 or 10, it varies. Facebook following of about 1,300 and growing, and a mailing list of about 300 that we send the information about our meetings out on, and people can reply with their ideas.
You want to add anything, Mandoo?
Not really. That's our main focus, as he mentioned.
All right. Now, what we're about to see this morning came about as a result of a sort of mini tour that you two took me to, where was it, down Mount Hartman some time ago.
Yeah.
Because of the inclement weather, we weren't able to do a lot, but you did promise that you'd take me around the island, and we went around, not around the whole island, but we went up as far as Bathway. And throughout the course of the morning, over the next hour and 15 minutes or so, we're going to take a look at some of what we saw. There is no way we could show all that junk in an hour and 15 minutes. And I say junk with regret, because we have so much beauty. And one of these days, and you've also promised me that one of these days, we're going to do a tour to show some of the great beauty that we have in this place. But it's a beauty I'm afraid that we're going to lose unless we take a hold of the problem we have on our hands.
The beauty becoming nasty now.
Yeah. Now, how long, you guys have been taking people around the island, so you're very familiar of the importance of what you do. How long have you guys been doing this?
I've been doing it for 24 years.
24 years?
Yes.
And you're only 17. Wow, that's awesome. What about you then?
Well, that's extraordinary. We must have started at the same time, which I hadn't realised.
Okay.
Sensation was looking for a German guide at the time, and whereas I'm not a national German, a German national, I speak the language and they took me on. And I've been going 24 years.
Okay. Are there any parts of the island, that you really, really enjoy taking people to?
All depends on their age group. For the younger people, middle age, I would say more hiking. And for the older people who cannot hike, Chocolate Factory, Bathway, Liver, the scenic part of it. So they love that. So it's based on age group and mobility, physical fitness, and so.
And what about you, Ian?
I have to agree with that. I think the coastal parts are the prettiest and what many people come for. I like Bathway, I like Leverett, La Sagesse, Fort Judy. But as you say, if they're active people, I like to get off the tarmac track and take them off to places like Seven Sisters Waterfalls or just occasionally Mount Kwakwa.
Oh, okay. And when you take these people on tours, I imagine a lot of people like it because a lot of them keep coming back, eh? Okay. Tell me some of the stuff you hear from our guests.
The beauty is phenomenal. It's unbelievable, but the drawback is garbage. It's litter. You may go in this nice side, oh, beautiful, and then straight in the face. They hit you with, loads of plastic bag, This is the drawback of it. This is the sad part of it. So it ruined the whole vacation. Mind you, with these people, they will get down and pick it up and put it in their bag as well. That's how they keep concerned about it. They're not going to do this. They don't have to do this. But they love to see it remain like this, so they will go down themselves, pick it up, put it in their backpack until they find a bin and drop it in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ian?
Germans love Grenada. They've usually done their homework. They have read up about nutmegs and Maurice Bishop and the other things we tell them, and they really want their investigations, their research confirmed and extended. When they come to the island, I always ask them at the end of the tour, what did you think of the island? The answer is nearly always greener than we expected, which is very nice. Friendlier than we expected, which is nice. They always have three questions apart from what are you doing here. One is it safe? And I think Grenada is one of the few places where you can say with a clear conscience, yes. One is, I'm afraid about litter. If the debushers have recently been out and the place is clean, they say, oh, this isn't like the other Caribbean islands, it's really clean. And if the debushers haven't been out for a while and we've got the normal accumulation, they say this is just like everywhere else. It's no pride in the country. Okay. And that hurts.
Now, I'm going to throw this at both of you. Yes, the visitors do appreciate this place. But do you think as locals, we have a deep enough appreciation for what we got?
Some of us. I don't think the majority, because if the majority did care and concern about the country and the people, you wouldn't see lots of amount of litter you're going to see coming up here on this video.
You know, as you're speaking, Mandoo, there's somebody out there named Jorge Morilla Yepes. He says, a great percentage of that nasty pollution is caused by the refuse packaging of 3 or 4 businesses in Grenada. It is my considered opinion that they ought to implement measures to alleviate this ecological and economical suicidal situation. Hey, Jorge, you practiced that last night or what? Nice shot. But it's true, isn't it? It's true.
Yeah. Which one? What
he's talking about the packaging.
Oh, it's a tough call. Yes.
It's plastic today.
It's some stuff we could. Now we, as G3 members, we have a bag, and we're trying to get people to buy into this cloth bag instead of leaving the supermarkets with 3 and 4 plastic bags. You walk with your own bag. So that's where you cut down. All right, I just see the bag. I haven't got one at the moment, but I'm these are the type of bags we're trying to do more and more and more.
All right, I don't want us to get too far behind. And by the way, Margaret says here, Margaret is in New York. Margaret says, but is the business responsible for dropping the garbage? Good question.
Good question.
Good question, Mags, as always.
Yeah.
Where or what is the individual citizen's responsibility to keep it clean? Amen, Mags, amen. And you're going to hear that said throughout the course of this program. But gents, like I said, I don't want us to get too far behind. I have 8 clips this morning from that little tour we did. And I want to start with this one, because after you guys picked me up here, oh, by the way, Bob Maher's show has joined us. After you picked me up here, our first stop was actually down at Fort Judy.
Fort Judy.
And folks, I'd like you to take a look at this little video. It runs about 3 minutes and 16 seconds. I'll visit the Fort Judy. All right, this is the beach, right at the entrance to the beach down at Fort Judy. Let's take a little walk around here. And you'll get to see how many signs there are. They're all over the place. Literally all over the place. Here's another one. Okay. And here are the bins we're talking about. So it's not as if there aren't any bins. Here's another one here. Place trash in bins. If you don't believe me, take a look. Take a look. All right? There it is. Here's the beach I'm telling you about. This is down at Fort Judy. Another sign. Another sign. There you go. Now, granted, this really isn't that bad. Yes, obviously there was a little cook-up here, but let's be honest. This is really not that bad. But it looks like I may have spoken just a wee bit too soon. Because right here at the same environment, take a look. Take a look. Get a little closer. Take a look. Nice cool shade. And I'll tell you what's sad. Look at the environment. Look at the environment. It's a beautiful little park. Beautiful little park. Beautiful little beach. Look at the fishing boats out there. Huh? Yet, for whatever reason, we still litter. You remember we were talking about derelicts being strewn all over the place? Here's one. Fort Judy. As you enter Fort Judy, it's on the left side, just across from the beach. Huh? Take a look with your very own eyes. Now, just in case you were thinking about buying this, I don't think the inside is too appealing. And right adjacent to that derelict, take a look. Don't know if you can make it out, but there are a lot of bottles sitting on the ground. Alrighty, folks, that's the first of our 8 clips. Now, you know what came across to me, folks? What's quite obvious here is that, yes, there are locations where there are signs, and in this case, not a sign, but several signs, talking about the littering. But still, and there were garbage bins there. I'll be the first to admit there may be not as many garbage bins as they ought to be in this country, but the fact is, they are. And there are people who will stand right next to a garbage bin and drop their little bucket or whatever right on the ground. Ain't that pathetic, guys? Huh?
It is.
Ian, when you've seen it happen over and over and over again, what do you say?
Words fail, and I think it's instructive that there are all these do not drop litter signs around that little bit of beach. It seems to be the only thing people need telling not to do. Think of all the things people do that are offensive and undesirable, but littering is the one that's picked on there because people have to be told. And the signs have no effect. I came to the conclusion long ago that litterers are illiterate. And my favourite sign is on a box in Republic Bank Grandans, and the box is by their cash machine. And the idea is that if you take the slip out of the machine and don't want to keep it, you put it in a slot in the box and it's to be disposed of by the bank. But that box is now used for people to put drinks on. The floor is strewn with the slips that they should be putting in the box. The empty food cartons, empty drinks cartons, every time you go in there. I just think that's astonishing.
Jorge says, hold on a minute, let me pull that agreement. Jorge says, what about a donation of garbage bins with their logo? He's talking about the companies. What about a donation of garbage bins with their logo and propaganda, which would produce a happy win-win situation?
That has started. Solid Waste is approaching businesses and asking them to sponsor bins initially at bus stops. And Solid Waste will then install the bins, having been given the money by the firms, and undertake to empty them. The problem in town was that Rainbow Janitorial, which is responsible for garbage disposal in St George's, did install quite a number of bins, but the businesses that were mentioned by one of the Facebook writers earlier were dumping at the bins rather than having their stuff taken off to Perseverance.
Kipling says, how about giving tickets for littering? That might help, he says.
Do we mention the Act here?
Oh, we... Is the Act...
Ian walked with the Litter Abatement Act.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
This is the Pavement of Litter Act 2015. It was...
2015.
2015.
4 years ago.
It's fourth birthday coming up next month. It was given the Governor-General's assent on the 5th of August 2015, and it was gazetted, if memory serves, on the 14th or the 15th. And this provides for a penalty of $100 for the first offence, which is doubled for the second offence, unless the littering is done by what's known as a body corporate, in other words, a firm rather than an individual person, in which case the initial fine is, I think, $500, and for subsequent offences it's doubled with a prison alternative. There are also fines. It's a very good piece of legislation. Also fines for throwing things out of vehicles, whereby if the offender cannot be identified, the driver of the vehicle is responsible and has to pay the penalty. And if the driver cannot be identified, then the registered owner of the vehicle is responsible.
That's all in the Act?
That's all in the Act and more. It's a good piece of legislation. There is one fault with it, which I think I'd rather not mention in case the Act is subsequently passed and people go through this loophole. And the police are powerless. The Act nominates certain people as enforcement officers. The police are enforcement officers. By a recent piece of legislation, traffic wardens have been added. Forestry officials are enforcement officers, and environmental health people are enforcement officers. There is also provision in the Act for the Minister of the Environment to appoint litter wardens in addition to these people, all of whom will have the power to issue penalties which have to be paid within 30 days. The problem is, over the last 4 years, 4 years, 15, 4 years,
Yeah, 4 years.
That nobody has been issued with the penalty notices to give out for littering. And the police really cannot use this piece of legislation until they have been given the tools for the job, the penalty notices to issue. And
So
we were talking earlier in the traffic section about legislation that is ignored, and here's another piece.
Yeah. Margaret says, I'm old enough to remember a clean Grenada when it was not cool to litter. Keeping a clean household and surrounding was a matter of pride. And to do anything less was to become the subject of ridicule and scorn.
Sure. And Margaret is right. The point is, George, what are you going to do? If there is no bin, are you going to litter? How many more bins we need? Whether it's bin or not, you're not supposed to do it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
John here in Carriacou says, I go shopping with my own bag to cut out the plastic bags and would never dream of dropping litter.
Here you are.
You know, I mentioned this morning, if I go downtown, I buy a chocolate bar. I eat the chocolate. I have a wrapper in my hand. If I don't see garbage nearby, I put it in my pocket and bring it home.
Simple.
Yeah, the saying I was brought up with is if you can take it away full, it's even easier to bring it back empty.
Yeah.
Once you've consumed the
Yeah.
contents, it's lighter, you can crumple it up, and it's much easier to dispose of.
Jorge says, you do not seem to remember the Grenadian idiosyncrasy. Davini Leo says, to curb the litter problem, the stray dogs also have to be addressed, together with a human element. You know, I noticed a lot of dogs as we drove around the other day. They're all over the place. I don't let my dogs leave my sight.
No.
And there are dogs running all over the place. People just don't seem to care about them. Yeah, pathetic. John says, there are laws covering that, but have you ever seen it happen? You know, Margaret, I guess she shared a view that I have, that you have to put a lot of the onus on us individuals, because we're the ones dropping the litter.
Of course.
Okay? But obviously the authorities recognize that that's an issue, and they come up with laws. Now, the laws aren't being enforced. Isn't it their responsibility if they fail to enforce those laws?
Of course.
It's not just the litter abatement. What about noise? You know about that one. Huh? All right, I'll tell you what. Let's move on to our second clip because I really, really don't want to get too far behind. Here, we take a drive out to Bacalet. And essentially, what you're going to see here is that people drive well out of their way to enjoy some peace and quiet. We drove like 2 miles off the main road, Mandoo?
2 miles, yeah.
2 miles off the main road to get to the spot we're going at. And you'll see that even in there, people dump their garbage. Take a look. We're just letting you take a look at how far off the beaten path people travel to have some peace and quiet, some tranquility for a picnic, huh? Just look at this pristine nature compared to what you're going to see in a few minutes. The garbage. Indiscriminate dumping of garbage. And as you can see, folks, it didn't take long before we saw the indications of indiscriminate dumping. Indiscriminate, why? Take a look. Bins, right there, right there. But take a look on the ground. Why do we have to dump that refuge on the ground? Ian took off. I guess he sensed there was something. He's seen this before, so I guess he sensed there was something just a little way along the beaten path, and he went to take a look. I followed him, and this is what he found. First of all, galvanized, miles from the nearest home. What is galvanized doing out there? Now take a look at this. What this shows is that people they're not just leaving the stuff from their picnics. People are actually driving out here and dumping refuse, the remains of buildings or offices or whatever. Ain't that a shame? And this is all happening just mere yards away from nature at its best. The open ocean, take a look off to your right. Let's pan around to the left. More open spaces. Pristine, if you will. Why is it necessary to pollute it? You know, I'd never dreamed that Bacalet was such a beautiful area. All right, maybe not the best swimming, take a look at the breakers, but still, such wide open spaces. A place to get away from it all, and not just for picnics. Quite frankly, I hope that right now you're getting tired of watching this shameless display of thoughtlessness, only feet away from the beauty of Bacalet in St. David. Let's take one more look as we prepare to move on from Bacalet and on to another part of the island. What a contrast, natural beauty versus garbage. Folks, we're going to comment on this video you just saw, but I want to move back to the one just before that. Bob Maher's show here says he was looking at that first piece on Fort Judy. He says, I'm embarrassed. This is my favorite beach at Fort Judy. A hop, a skip, and a jump from my place. How did I miss that? I pledge myself to do something about it. Anything you can do, Bob, would be appreciated. Alana Logie says, I live close to the road, so I'm faced with this problem on a daily basis. People have no respect for the environment. They pass in private vehicles and just throw their garbage out the windows. When you speak to them, you are ridiculed. Our people need serious education. Maybe we should start in the schools. If I'm not mistaken, some of the schools are trying to teach kids. What about the enforcement? Ian?
Firstly, all I can do is agree with what you've said. Schools are doing good work. Some teachers are doing heroic work with environmental clubs and having litter organisation within schools. The litter song, bits of paper, pick them up, seems to have disappeared, and we're trying to revive it. But schools are doing good work, and solid waste I have to praise to the skies for doing good work within schools.
I talked about that.
There are prizes, there are competitions, there are initiatives, and what solid waste is doing is under-recognised, I think. But teachers have told me that it doesn't transfer outside the school building. And one principal told me of a march, an anti-litter march, with the youngsters from his school through the community, and the community came out to cheer them on and dropped litter while they were cheering on their own youngsters in an anti-litter march. Now, how sad is that? How automatic is that? People don't notice litter. And the problem with the beach picture we've just seen, you saw it end of dry season vegetation, lots of leaves lying round decaying, and among them lots of garbage. People don't notice the difference. That's one of the problems. People don't realise that those leaves will deteriorate into mulch and replenish the soil, whereas plastic, which has been around for roughly as long as I have, as far as we know, never deteriorates. Now, you pays your money and you takes your choice when it comes to degradation times. A generous estimate is that it takes 450 years for a plastic bottle to deteriorate. We've all seen the supermarket plastic bag deteriorate into powder in a matter of months. But that doesn't mean the chemicals have gone away. The petrochemicals it was made of, which are toxic, are still there, even if they're microscopically small. The other chemicals that you attach to the petrochemicals to give the plastic malleability, pliability, colour, rigidity, and all the other characteristics that you need in the plastic are still there and are still toxic. When it has become a fragment or powder, then it blows out to sea. There it combines with the plankton that produce half of our oxygen. And when Sylvia Earle, an 80-ish-year-old American diver, wrote that the main thing we get from the sea is our life, she's dead right. The plankton combine with these microscopically little bit of petrochemicals with other chemicals attached. That inhibits their oxygen producing ability, and they're eaten by fish, and these particles are so tiny that they're absorbed into the fish's tissues, and eventually they get into us. And I think it's reached the stage now where not very many people don't have plastic in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the estimate is that by the year 2050, only 30 years on from now, there'll be more plastics in the ocean than fishes. So fishermen, bad news for you. You won't be bringing home yellowfin tuna and bring home plastics.
Let's turn to Ernesto. He says here, do villagers know the owner of that vehicle? I guess he's referring to the one we saw at Fort Judy. He says, why not report them to the authorities and hold them responsible for littering? Remember, all vehicles have a V number, which they can be identified with, and charge the owners. Well, Ernesto, let me tell you this. Don't go anywhere, because we have...
That's one.
We have a segment coming up on derelict vehicles, and you're going to see. There's no way I was going to spend the whole program this morning showing you all the derelict vehicles we saw along the way. Just ridiculous, okay? But hang on a sec, we're going to get to that. John, by the way, Ian, he says here, he's an Englishman, he says, do you remember Keep Britain Tidy?
Certainly do.
Yes, John, he does. Dennis Perkins. Dennis is also an Englishman, and both of these guys are in Carriacou.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, family reunion coming up.
Okay.
Dennis says, we have similar legislation in London. During my working life, I helped to run a team of enforcement officers part of whose duties was to issue fixed penalty notices or fines for littering. We also visited schools to work with the children, but it seemed to us that it was teenagers and young adults who were to blame.
Can I quote one of my heroes here, who is the
Quickly.
American astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, who said, "Everybody says fix the kids and the problem's solved. Rubbish," that's not his actual word, he said, "fix the adults. They're the ones who are screwing up the kids."
Absolutely. I've heard that saying before. Bob Marashow says, "I remember the late Mr. Buxu, who took on litters single-handedly. He confronted them in their face. He was feared by just about everyone on Fort Judy Beach." Those were the days, Bob. Margaret says, "John, as a kid in school, I remember they would have us using this song. They would have us sing this song. Bits of paper lying on the floor, makes the place untidy, pick them up." And while singing, we would be picking up the trash on the floor in the classroom. Yeah, Mags, again, days long gone. Tessa Barry says, George, this needs to be aired on GBN and MTV. Yeah, Tessa. See if you could get me in there. And she says, all other possible places where the entire public should see. It is really disheartening to see this. Anthony Howard says, most Grenadians respond to enforcement. How many Grenadians drive without seatbelt? A few years ago, bus drivers turned down their stereos because they were ticketed and their stereos were confiscated. The enforcement was stopped and we back to the loud music. All right, folks, let's move on to number 3. Let me scroll up here. And yeah, we're going to get to that in just a wee bit. Scroll. We made a lot of stops along the way. And this particular one is in Soubise. Alrighty, folks, we're taking a look now at Soubise. Not only is there a lot of litter here on the beach, as you can tell, all mixed in now with a lot of that seaweed or sargassum, if you will. So we try to move along here. It smells a little bit funky here as well. So we pan along here to the right. There you go. Wow. Look at that. So off to the left, you have the sargassum, and right in front of us here, a lot of the garbage, much of which is plastic. This is an example of what nature can do. You're looking at the beach here in Marquis, and yeah, a lot of sargassum on the beach. Off to the right there at the top, you're looking at Marquis Island. And yes, there is some garbage here. Take a look straight ahead, right at the center of your frame. There's some garbage there. But as far as the sargassum is concerned, I guess there's not a whole lot you can do about it. It's going to take a lot of resources to clean up this stuff. Take another look here at it. Well, let's see if we can actually get a closer look. But even amidst the sargassum, take a look. Plastic bottles. All of this is happening in an environment which could be a really neat little tourist attraction. Take a look at this gazebo. Now here is what I thought was a really neat little shot. 3 fishing boats. Would you believe it? They're well afloat on sargassum. As we drove away from Soubise, the dumping in that little village was as obvious as everywhere else. Are there any parishes that are worse than the others as far as garbage is concerned?
It's a hard call. It goes and comes, but they all has their drawbacks. They're all filthy and dirty. It's a hard call to choose one from the next based on activities and things like that. But it's a tough call.
All right, there you have it, folks. You know, guys, there was sargassum all the way up the East Coast. And just before I let you guys bung away again, I want to read something to you that I got this morning about a statement made by Mia Motley in Barbados about sargassum. I quote, "The waves of sargassum seaweed heading towards Barbados and its neighbors could be as devastating to national economies as a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane." That was the warning from Prime Minister Mia Motley as she explained the position she shared with her CARICOM colleagues at the 40th Heads of Government Conference after the meeting was addressed by Prime Minister of Norway, Erna Solberg. Ms. Motley referred to an article in the Financial Times newspaper this week, which reported experts as saying that there was a body of sargassum seaweed the size of Jamaica heading towards the coast of Mexico. Such a threat heading into the Caribbean Sea, she warned, would require an unprecedented level of cooperation among CARICOM states. There is speculation as to whether the sargassum is purely as a result of a number of activities taking place in the region of the Amazon and coming up our way. But there is also some scientific discussion linking it to the extent of the runoff and nitrates coming from the United States of America and other factors that have led to the perfect mix creating these sargassum waves that are potentially devastating for those communities and communities that rely on tourism. So said Mia Motley. The Prime Minister noted that Barbados has started a relatively small way testing, been testing how best we can harvest the sargassum and use it for productive purposes. But the scale at which it is coming is truly mammoth, and I believe that its impact will be as devastating as a strong tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane. The Barbados leader noted too that while the threat to tourism was clearly evident, in some islands, the livelihood of fishing communities was being literally wiped out by the sargassum seaweed, blocking ports and confining boats. Gentlemen, you hear that. Let's talk about what we saw going up the coast. Everywhere.
Everywhere. Soubise, Mackay, at least the whole East Coast. Yeah.
And the sad thing is when the sargassum comes in, it mingles with the litter that we've been dumping.
That's right.
It was an extraordinary sight to see boats apparently sitting on something brown rather than something watery.
Yes.
But it is an equally extraordinary sight. I'm sorry to say this, but we're piggybacking on the invasion of sargassum to see those beaches apparently clean because the sargassum is a blanket covering the litter that we've seen there in the past, with every now and then a piece of substantial litter peeping through where the sargassum hasn't quite covered it. It's masking our problem with a very different problem.
And one of the things that really bothered me on this trip was seeing that the kids are playing in this stuff. We're going to show that a little later on as we continue to move along here. My guest on the left there is Ian Blaikie with the Grenada Green Group, and then on the right is Mr. Mandoo Seals. These guys are both tour operators, and they take people around the island trying to sell pure Grenada. Let's take a look now at what we saw as we continued up the West Coast and moved into Greenville. All right? And this, my dear friends, is the Granville Bus Terminal. All right, folks. Right now we are entering the Greenville Bus Terminal, which was opened not too long ago. Very controversial site here. Not bad as far as the activity is concerned here in Greenville this afternoon, compared to St. George's, which has been like a deadbeat city for the last little while. All right, that's the Greenville Pier there off in the distance, and as you can see, not very exempt from sargassum here. This is just in the back of the bus terminal. And you know, if you look very closely, again, take a look at the littering that is taking place here. This is the town where I grew up. Blaikie. Take a look. Take a look. Everywhere you go, indiscriminate dumping. Take a look out there, see the sargassum again. I guess it's all over the East Coast, and like I said, not a whole lot we can do about that, except try the best we can to clean it up.
Well, here we are in Greenville Bus Station, and you can see the garbage that's accumulated here. A lot of people think that some of it may have been brought in from the sea, but you can see here quite clearly that it's on the bus station side of the little embankment with the rocks and the shrubs. So obviously this has been generated by the bus station itself, by the bus drivers and by their passengers. The particularly painful thing is that I was here about a year ago with a group of girls from Anglican High, and they cleaned up every inch of this place. And now look at this.
Again, take a look at the prevalence of plastics.
And you can also see here that somebody's been burning. They've been trying to burn the plastics. They've been trying to burn tin cans, which I find bizarre because everybody knows that metal doesn't burn. But the point about burning plastics is that the burning of plastics at temperatures below 50 centigrade. No, sorry, that's the wrong one. The burning of plastics at non-industrial incinerator temperatures causes the release of dioxins into the atmosphere, which are the most cancer-producing substance you can imagine. There is no safe minimal dose. It is parts per trillion. And this settles in body fat in food that we've eaten that's been infested with the gases given off by the burning of low temperature burning of plastics. And that is seriously dangerous.
It has become so habitual for so many people to simply finish a meal and drop the container right where they consume that meal, without any thought of what they may be doing to their environment, their health, and their future. It is so pathetic. Gentlemen, what do you have to say about what you just saw?
The sad thing about this is that people are selling food, drinks, corn or so in this type of environment. So think about the mosquitoes. And then we speak about chikungunya, Zika, all these other viruses. And so obviously your health. Your health is your wealth. If you have health, look what happened, in the hospitals, and more people fall along through bad health because of things like this.
And wondering why.
Yeah, wondering why.
Ian?
There's not much I can add to that because I suspect this program is anyway preaching to the converted.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need a tablespoonful of water for a very few days for mosquito larvae to develop. I think it was 65% of the population was laid low by chikungunya, including myself, effectively paralyzed for a couple of days, as was NIS, which was having to pay out and get no contributions in. I regard littering as an assault. It is an assault on me as a person and an assault on the economy of Grenada, because just as shooting somebody, hitting somebody or knifing somebody injures their health, stops their employment prospects, so an assault on my health by mosquito, chikungunya, dengue, yellow fever, Zika can lead to Guillain-Barré, if that's how you pronounce it. The cost of fixing that is over $40,000 per patient, which Grenada can't afford. Then leptospirosis, which paralyzes the tongue and the throat, produced by rats. And I've seen many food containers with plenty of food left in them. So that is just an invitation for rats to congregate and breed. And then, of course, people blame the government, don't they? You know, the government should clear this litter away. Well, they didn't drop it. The government should do something about the rats. Well, they didn't bring a big cage of rats and let them free. As one of the contributors on Facebook said, it is individual responsibility. You keep your home clean, you probably keep your person clean, so keep your island clean.
John Crow Alexander on Facebook says, the principal of the River Sally Primary School was cursed out and they attempted to run her out of town when she took on those who tied their sheep, goats, and cows in the schoolyard. Even brought in the police. Our children continue to play in the down of these animals. Crap. Margaret responds to John by saying, John, and therein lies the problem. When the teachers try to instill something, the community reinforces bad behavior when the kids go home.
Absolutely.
Just think of the health hazard that animal dung poses. So says Margaret. Then Anthony Park says, George, the world is watching Pure Grenada as they read about it in our brochures. Pure beauty mixed with pure nastiness. So says Anthony. Claude PETNA says, Mr. Grant, I was in St. George's on Melville Street. I saw a guy drop a plastic bag with a pen in it. So I told him, the bin is just over there. Don't litter. He said to me, you the police? I said, no. He told me, shut up, you mother.
Yeah.
Ain't that a shame?
Yeah, it is.
Tessa says, George, some of the places on the East Coast, people actually live right next to the litter, and they're operating without a care. This says a lot about the mindset. People seem not to be concerned, and this compounds the problem. Hang in there, Tessa, you're going to see some kids in just a wee bit. Hang in there. John says, and it's the people of this community that send their kids to these same schools. Yeah. Margaret says, that's the part that blows my mind. Ernesto says, seaweeds plus the cabbages. Oh, what a combination. I'm in disbelief. What's next to be expected? We can do better than that. In the revolution, there was cleaning up campaigns every weekend. Self-help in communities. Were you here that, Mandoo? Remember them days?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And just to let the class know, St. David got so many bays, we only visit just one. Just one bay in St. David we visit.
Yeah.
So imagine the rest of them,
yeah.
Just one.
But that spoke volumes. John in Carriacou says they either don't know or don't care. Bob Marichal says, George, Ian has obviously done his homework. Everything which he has said so far is the gospel truth. Dioxin is a problem worldwide. Singapore has moved to pulverization of cabbage, which minimizes the problem. He talked about bioaccumulation, which is a long-term medical problem. I can go on and on, but we'll stop here. Thanks, Bob. Ernesto says, with all these cabbages, there will be there will be a rat problem in development. All right, now let me now move to.
Could I just respond to dioxin? And thank you for those comments.
Quickly.
Dioxin is produced by backyard burning, and it's a chemical caused by the burning of plastics, which is so harmful that there is no safe minimum dose. The least trace of dioxin, which accumulates in body fat, which can be breathed in, eaten in, or even by skin contact, is one of the most powerful causes of cancer that is known. And it is caused by burning of plastics and other things, but mainly plastics, at sub-industrial incinerator temperatures.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, Bob, your comment appreciated there by our colleague, Ian. Now, we moved on to a place, I think it's called Big Bay, and that's just in the vicinity of Telescope. Tessa, this is what I wanted you to see. Hold on a sec here. Dennis Perkins in Carriacou says, if possible, watch a program called Blue Planet made by the BBC.
Yep.
One particular program showed the effect of plastics in the ocean. It was truly frightening. All right, take a look, folks, at Big Bay.
If I could comment on that, as you mentioned that, just yesterday I was in a supermarket and I was speaking to one of the cashier, and I said to her, please, when you go home, look at Blue Planet with
Really?
David Attenborough.
Yeah. Oh, David Attenborough.
Yeah, I told her, take a look at it.
He does
Blue
some
Planet.
pretty stuff. And I don't know if it was you who sent me something. Was it the Maldives? Or
Midway, the plastic
Midway.
island.
Midway.
Oh, so yeah. Midway, the Plastic Island. That's on YouTube. Check it out.
Yep.
Right now, Big Bay. From the bus terminal, we moved on to an area known as Big Bay, short distance from the Telescope Beach, which, by the way, is not in the best of shape. This beach, too, is overwhelmed by the sargassum phenomenon, one which it appears could be around for quite some time. Just this past week, we learned that satellite images have revealed that there is currently a band of sargassum stretched right across the Atlantic, from Africa all the way to the Gulf of Mexico.
There was a beach cleanup here, I would guess about 5 months ago, and it was organised by the Grenada Fund for Conservation. All sorts of people were involved. Sandals were here, a local group from Greenville was here, a group from the University of Manitoba was here, and they left the beach spotless. And now look at it.
Sadly, my dear friends of the earth, this is the environment which we have created for our youngsters to enjoy in their formative years. And what complicates the adverse impact of sargassum is that when it reaches our shores, it automatically swallows up the unsightly garbage we have left on our beaches. I don't have to tell you what the end result is. You have seen with your very own eyes. One cannot help but ask the question, where is our conscience? All right, we're sitting here chuckling at that little kid, chuckling, but it's really not funny. You guys want to say anything in addition to that?
What is so sad about this is that these parliamentary representatives in these communities has to get out and look at things like this. These are the people depend on for their votes or whatever. I mean, come on. It's right, the pictures don't tell lies. And this is just scratch of the surface.
Wayne Francis says, this is making international news. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Wayne. He says it's man-made. What is man-made? I'm not sure what he's talking about. You wanted to say something, Ian?
Yes, I think the plastic is man-made and the litter problem is man-made. 2 comments, I'll probably forget one. I was part of a litter pickup on that beach, and that beach was absolutely squeaky clean, litter free to a depth of about 6 inches 3-4 months ago, led by the Grenada Fund of Conservation. Sandals was involved, a Canadian university was involved, and now it's all back. Secondly, you could argue that quite a lot of that litter was from the sea. Months before, I drove down the East Coast taking pictures of litter, and a man said, "What are you taking pictures of?" And to cut a long story short, I said this, the litter. "Oh, don't worry about that," he said, "we throw it into the sea." So I told him about the dangers of marine litter, really that plastic never decomposes in that environment because the heat is insufficient. And I went on to the next village, started taking pictures of mainly plastic bottles again. Another man came and said hello. "Yes," he said, "the sea brings that in." So it's a case of what goes around comes around. If you throw litter into the sea throws some of it back.
Exactly.
Bottom line.
Why don't people put two and two together?
Dennis Perkins is asking the question, can the sargassum be taken up and used as fertilizer? You know, Dennis, I've heard that suggestion made. I don't know whether or not it's going to be pursued. But anyhow, Wayne Francis says, "I grew up in Grenada. Never heard of this." Well, Wayne, that's why we went on that tour, so that you could see for your very self. Okay, folks. Now, if you find me rushed, I just want to make sure we get everything in, okay? But we're going to be doing more of this stuff, a lot more of this stuff. Right now, we move on to, I hope Tessa is watching, because Tessa, we move on to Sea Moon, and this one speaks volumes.
Yeah, the little puppies around here don't want me to take a picture of this derelict. This too is out at Sea Moon. And so we're just going to walk through, I guess this area used to be the racetrack, eh? And we're going to walk through this little bit of grass here and take a look at another derelict with its driver. Hello, how are you? Yeah, Sea Moon, Sea Moon, Sea Moon. Spent a lot of my formative years attending horse racing here, years and years ago. Yeah, just in case you're looking for another vehicle, you know, perhaps a little bit darker than the ones I showed you earlier on, might want to consider this. Hey, again, this is in the Sea Moon playing field. I guess that's what it's called now, since it's no longer a racetrack. By the way, here's another red one, just in case you might be interested. Pretty good shape, no? What would you pay? Now, how about this one? Yeah? Uh-oh. I think the engine's missing. Gone. Sheep with its own taxi, man. Its own limo. I'll tell you, some of the sheep out in this neighborhood are doing a lot better than you guys. They have their own limos. Look at that. Look at that. I'm not going to check them out to make sure or to determine who's male and who's female. Excuse me, hi, I'm just a visitor. Another of the derelicts which our authorities have been threatening to clean up. Yeah? You've heard them, haven't you? Hey, look at this one. I'd say this one's seen better days. Take a look.
You know what really bugged me about this one? Here I am taking bus every day, And them sheep in Simoon have their own limousine. You know, life is not fair, is it? Life is not fair. Wayne Francis said, whoa, unbelievable. What do you guys have to say?
It's reality, Wayne. You can't learn from the fact.
What I have to say is that every time we do a full day tour, we have to drive tourists right past that.
Every time we pass there.
Yeah. And
right,
then you hear the authorities with all this crapola talking about, move your vehicles, move your vehicles. Somebody sent me a picture of one that's been sitting in St. David's for 21 years.
Yeah.
21 years. Yeah. With a sign from, who is it, the Ministry of Health or whoever, saying get this thing out of here in days. By the way, just going back a little bit here, somebody asked a little while ago whether or not sargassum could be used as fertilizer. Well, there are a couple of responses. First of all, John says yes, but it has to be washed with fresh water and dried, then ground it to a powder. Sadly, Carriacou hasn't enough fresh water, and Renewed Purpose also confirmed that yes, it can be done. All right, folks, what time is it? It's 14 minutes away from the hour. So, from Simoon, I mean, yes, you saw some derelicts there, but there's still a segment to come on derelicts themselves. Okay, that was just a little piece. And like I said, there was no way we could have captured all the derelicts that we saw along the way. But anyhow, hold on. We now move to the Pearls Airport. I think that's where we're headed next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to move to the Pearls Airport. Check this out. Next stop, the Pearls Airstrip, just north of Greenville. Site of two of Grenada's most recognizable war relics, which our authorities have simply failed to capitalize on.
So this is what we are paying security to look at. I don't know, but we could utilize them in more important areas like up at the Lookout Stone or something like that. Just a bloody waste of taxpayers' money, because they have an SSU camp, which is one of the safest places supposed to be on the island. And we have security looking at these planes. If they were in good nick, you didn't mind, but it's all been vandalized and take everything out of it. So it's just a junk now, and it's so sad. I spoke about this thing 10 years ago, both on TVs and radios. Nobody took heed. So it's just a disaster.
Are these left over from the revolution, right?
Yes, this one was by plane brought it in a ship from Moscow. It was converted as spray plane, and this Antonov 24 Russian built used to make weekly flights from Havana to Grenada. They were destroyed in a hurricane. Destroyed in the war in 1983 by the American forces. So Castro said that we're going to have to pay him $5 million for his planes, but poor Castro didn't get 1 cent for it. So there it is.
Just let me throw a little question out at you. Couldn't this site have been made into a museum and therefore a major tourist attraction?
As a little boy growing up just about, maybe 2.5, 3 miles away from here, I remember dreaming about being able to stand out on this runway. I'm at Pearls Airport. And stand here and watch one of those airplanes land. Maybe Viscount. Remember those? I think they were run by BWIA at the time. Well, I'll tell you what, that didn't materialize at the time. But today, here I am, standing on the runway at Pearls, facing towards the mainland, inland. And we're going to turn the camera around just a little bit so we can then turn to the east.
Oh.
There are those two derelict airplanes. I wonder if those airplanes are considered by the authorities to be derelict. Huh? And are they going to order them to be moved? Well, since '83, was it? They're still here. So there you are, looking out to the east. Now, I guess many of you know that the Pearls Airstrip is now being used as a drag racing strip. They do have these various racing events here from time to time. And that sort of aroused my curiosity and caused me to ask Mandoo and Ian to take me to have a look and see whether or not there was any litter that would be noticeable in the area where these races get started. Well, you judge for yourself. Take a look. Take a look. Take a look. You know, this airport could be such a historic site. And the airplanes are historic in themselves. And one would have thought that every effort would have been made to preserve them and make them a tourist attraction. You know, most of the people who come to this island, the only thing they've ever heard about this country was revolution. Revolution. Well, when they come here, you find that one of the first things they ask about is about the revolution. And here we have some relics which are just not being utilized. We're still out in the Pearls area, and here we're taking a look at some of the garbage in the little village of Pearls, and that's right adjacent to the runway. And if I pan around here to the right, there's playing field, heavily populated by sheep today. I feel sorry for these little critters. Where do they get their water from? Huh?
I think pictures speak louder than words here. I just wonder how long it'll be before they've filled the ditches. It's just a second perseverance. They're just filling up all the hollows. They fate on the pasture here, and then they just throw it round the edge. Nobody ever picks it up.
But Jan, on the other hand, we speak about the rainy season, we speak about chikungunya and Zika.
Absolutely.
You know, perfect breeding ground for it.
Perfect. And of course rats, because they
yes, rodents as well.
So you get the rats. Rats spread leptospirosis, which leads to paralysis of the throat and tongue and can be fatal.
Comments, gentlemen?
It's just heartbroken, you know. It's, you know, now you sit down and look at it, what we went through to see what we saw. Now you think it's unbelievable. Because we went through in a rush time, you know what I mean?
And when you sit down tonight and take a look at it again, it's going to hit home again.
Yeah.
Quickly, Ian.
Two comments. One is going back to the sheep making a mess at the school and being a hazard for the kids. At least what animals produce is natural and will decompose into soil that we use for growing vegetables. Plastic isn't, doesn't, won't, and is poisonous.
True.
I've forgotten the other thing I was going to say.
All right.
Comments?
Some comments here. Bob Marashev says, the Antov 24 Mandoo used for heavy lifting in the Russian arsenal. Talking about that airplane at the airport. He says, a great heavy lifter should be in Grenada's Museum for Visitors.
Yep. Too late now.
Well, I mean, yes, it's kind of late
gone.
because the airplane's now a wreck,
Yeah.
okay? They should have done something with that, and that's exactly the sentiment that I expressed. This should have been turned into a museum. Anthony Howard says, where is Anthony? Anthony says, a couple of weeks ago, I saw a bus parked along the guide's hut wall in St. George's that was being stripped for parts. The bus was partially obstructing the roadway, and very little effort was made by the authorities to act. We speak of abandoned vehicles. What about the various properties, some of which are owned by government, that sit in disrepair? You know, sometimes I think we're sounding like a broken record because all the stuff we're saying has been said for years and years and years.
Nothing new.
He goes on to, oops, hold on a sec here, hold on. Ernesto says, I think the government of Grenada should seek compensation for our damaged plane by the U.S., which could have been a great asset to our economy. Yeah, you got your eyes on the money, don't you? Anthony says, this loss of connection is fretting me, fretting me. George, give them men some money so they would stop messing with PETNA. I guess he's
talking about you mean?
He's in New Jersey. I think he might be having some internet problems or whatever. Yeah.
Oh.
John Crow Alexander says, years ago I asked a family member who worked in that area. We attended a meeting where he regurgitated my question about derelict vehicles. The response was a very loud, silent thud. Alana Logie says, don't think this program is reaching the people that really need to see it.
Exactly.
You know, that's the thing.
Exactly.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
You know, people say to me, George, how come you don't have as many viewers as so-and-so does? There's a quote that I came across I'm going to share with you one of these days, folks. A lot of people, actually I'm going to share it right now. A lot of people buy cheap things. We don't put out cheap stuff here. We put out stuff very important and valuable to you people.
Sure.
Yvonne Joseph says, Grenada too small for all this garbage. It is lack of education by the present regime. I'm not sure about that.
No.
Why it was so different during the revolution. The government has to be held accountable because they are the policy makers. Government must educate the people. Well, education is a bit of a problem, but more than that, goes deeper than that. Bob Marichal says, gentlemen, we have talked about the problem at length. Where do we go from here? Mandoo, I will be home for the carnival. Will do me best to see you. And Ian. To be continued. Bye. I guess he has to leave now. Okay, now, what's next? Because we do have just a few, 2 minutes, but I also think I have probably 2 more clips that I want to share.
Did you mention anything on Mosquito Avenue?
Yeah, we showed that.
You saw the picture,
yeah. Okay, now, Tessa, want to see Derelict's girl? As I mentioned, folks, those were just a few. There are tons more, all right? Guys, we're not going to waste any time on that. Here's the final clip that I want to share with everybody this morning, and this is at a place called Swayze. Okay. Now, when you listen to this, you'll probably hear me mention Livera. I mistook the place for Livera. It's actually Swayze. Tessa Barry says, how do we get this to be corrected and discontinued? I say we, because it would take the entire nation. Pray. Pray. Okay, Swayze. Now, I want to show you some of the one of the places where some trucks come and just dump their stuff. Take a look. Look at that toilet. If you're searching for one, this is in the Bathway area. All right, let's pan around here a little bit. Again, some leftover home dumped at Bathway. That ain't all. Just walk around here a little bit. In need of a washing machine? Got one here for you. Take a look. Take a look. And again, look at the environment. Take a look around. There's the beach just out there. There's the ocean just out there. Nice place to go spend the afternoon, watch the waves come in. Or on a Sunday, a little picnic. Take a look around. And look at the garbage in the foreground. More stuff dumped by a truck. Again, you probably wouldn't believe this if you hadn't seen it. And from the look of things, this stuff was just recently dumped here. Dumped. See why I say recent? Take a look. Folks, would you believe that many of these books were in good condition and perfectly usable? Couldn't they have been donated to one of our schools rather than finding their way into a makeshift dump? Or perhaps we just don't care anymore. Yet, just a few hundred feet away, God's creation, nature at her best. A beachfront view of the Grenadines just off to the northeast of this island. Take a look. Pay that spot a visit someday. I don't think you'd regret it. Still pristine. And then it was time to head back home. We turned south initially to take a look at a popular party haven. Everybody knows it as Long Wall. Although most of it was covered by sargassum, our tour operators will tell you that this is one place that visitors really like to stop. But just across the street, there is yet another dumping ground in the making. Here's a look at the bar, which has been set up to facilitate the activity. It's called the Long Wall. Neat little idea, very island-like, and I can understand why visitors are attracted to that area. But keep on looking. You'll see that it's not or smoke and mirrors. I do hope that today's program has been an eye-opener for you, and that you'll join me in thanking the Grenada Green Group and the persons of Mandoo Seals and Ian Blaikie, who have been with me this morning, have been extremely instrumental in the production of this program, and with very limited resources and tons of frustration, have been doing their part to make this place what it falsely claims to be: pure Grenada. All right, folks. All right. We're out of time. I mean, we could spend another couple hours here, but we just don't have that time today. Mandoo, I want you to take a couple of minutes and just give us a little summary.
The hurtful thing about this, when we go there and speak about the Pure Grenada brand and to market the island, we as tour operators, when you take people around the island, based on what they read and they heard, and they see things like that, how do you come up with an answer? What do you tell them?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's embarrassing for us.
You know, I have a letter that a visitor to the island sent to us, and I would really love to share it, but it's a little bit lengthy and I just don't have the time. Let me hear from you before we go back to social media. Let me hear from you, Ian.
Okay, very few quick points in departure. What can you do, apart from write on Facebook what a terrible occurrence this is and how it detracts from the beauty of Grenada? Please, folks, consider the following. Put on Facebook, which I think will remain open for a while, or write to Grenada Green Group's Facebook, Grenada Green Group, and then G3 in brackets, what we should be doing. It would take another program to tell you what we've already done. What should we be doing? It doesn't matter if you tell us the obvious things that we're already doing. Let's hear your ideas, please, for combating litter. Secondly, please challenge people for dropping litter. As they say, if you don't oppose something bad, you are actually supporting it. If you end up being cussed, that just means you've done right. I'm sorry if you end up insulted. It hasn't happened to me too often, but please challenge littering. Invite the Grenada Green Group to do a presentation to your factory, your workplace, your school, any group that you would like to have an anti-litter presentation made to. I can't tell you about our presentations now because of lack of time, but we can tailor-make them. Talk to your parliamentary representative and ask them to implement the Pavement of Litter Act 2015. Let's get this thing working. Everybody we've consulted over 2 years, 3 years, 4 years agrees that deterrent is going to be applying the law. And finally, please join us and participate actively in combating litter. We have lots of things that you could do. We need help. A little group of people sitting in a room can't manage it on our own, but we can if everybody out there joins us. You can join us by email, you can join us by phone, you can join us bodily at our meetings. We will travel to meet you. Let's get rid of this problem.
And let me say to you two gentlemen, thank you very much. You did an outstanding job by helping me to put this thing together. And we have to keep this up. We have to keep it up, okay? And I'm counting on you guys. Folks, a couple of comments here before we pull the plug. Dennis was talking about the garbage out at Savant-Swayze earlier on. He says, the person who dumped this was probably paid to dispose of it properly.
Yep.
But took the easy way out to save the cost of disposal. Absolutely, Dennis. Yvonne Joseph says, prayer is important, but faith without works is dead. It all goes back to the mindset of the masses. You're absolutely right, my friend.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Wayne Francis says, the question is, how do you get people to change their attitudes and learn to respect the environment? Bob Marishow says, George, the program today is of an Academy Award quality.
Thank you, Bob.
Come on, man, come on.
Thank you, Bob.
He says, to borrow a phrase from Sandra Ferguson, we the people would like to give you a journalistic certificate of excellence in broadcasting for today.
Oh, boy.
I don't need lunch.
You didn't show that bird, huh? that bird.
Thank you, Bob. It's very kind of you. I do appreciate it. Ernesto says, these cabbages didn't fall from the skies. We're the ones who are creating that environment. Sad. So sad. Claude PETNA says, Mr. Grant, Grenada police charged for removing sand from the beach, not dumping garbage on the beach. Okay.
George, you just should have wanted the bird. Oh, yeah, that's for next time.
Huh?
The albatross bird we cut out inside it. Did you show that?
We're going to have to show that one the next time.
Okay, next time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that bird,
Scary. Joyce Julian says, I only saw the last 10 minutes. Will review. Please, Joyce, go on back and take a look. My dear friends, listen. While I'll be the first to agree that there isn't an abundance of litter bins around this island, there are indeed many places where there are, but they are simply being ignored. And let's face it, if you don't have the time to look for a bin, how about just holding on to the soft drink bottle, the KFC box, the roti paper, or whatever, until you get home? Folks, we're talking basics here, basics. Nothing that's going to cost you a small fortune or a lot of your time. And I think the best way to wrap up this program today is with a quote that was given to me this week. You know, I wrap up every program with a passage from the scriptures. And Ian here gave me one this past week. Believe it or not, I've been reading the Bible since I was a tiny tot. I've never seen this one, never. But it sank home. It hit hard. We're going to be held accountable. We are. It comes to you from Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 7. And I quote, I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and its rich produce. But you came and defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable. God getting a little bit cheesed off? He does from time to time. He does. Thank you very much, folks, for joining us this morning. That's where we're going to pull the curtain down on today's edition of Good Day Grenada. As always, I do thank you for joining us. And hold on a sec. Dennis Perkins out there in Carriacou says, to say his program was thought-provoking would be an understatement. Thanks, George and guest and the rest of the class for contributions to the show, and God bless you. Thank you for being so loyal, Dennis. We do appreciate you and your dear wife. God bless you. Yeah, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we are going to have the first edition of Good Day Grenada for a brand new week, starting at 9, running until 10. And we certainly hope that you will be able to join us for that. In the meantime, my dear friends, Georgie Porgy, sending God's blessings your way. So long.